welcome everyone to today's event. My name is Phil, and I'm from Prosper. We're just helping out today with the team here at Clydenko. And yeah, looking forward to the live Q&A. I've got a good team on, and it's going to be a very nice, valuable insight that we're going to be able to hear from. So before I do go any further, I would like to begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather on today, and just pay my respects as well to the elders past, present, and emerging. And for today, as I said, we've got a few team members on from Clyde Co, who I'm excited to bring on. As we know, this session is going to be a live Q&A session. So if you do have any questions, look, just please use the chat box below, and also mention if you would like to ask a question and actually come off mute and have a bit of a chat. Happy also just to ask the question on your behalf as well, but it would be awesome to get a couple of you as well to have a bit of a chat as well. So what I'm first off going to do is I'm going to introduce Greg, and he's going to be doing have a bit of a chat with you guys, and introduce a couple of the team members. But feel free to ask some questions while he's speaking, and go from there. But here's Greg.
Thanks, Phil. Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Greg Plummer. I'm the senior recruitment manager for Clyde Co across APAC. We've got a few members of the resourcing team with us here today as well. Vivian Micheletti and Simone Rogers, who work in the resourcing team, and we've also got a few actual grads who have been through the Law Clerk program joining us as well. Tom Micheletti and Alexia Saltis as well. So we thought it would be useful for you to be able to ask them questions about their experiences that they've had throughout the clerk process as well. So I thought what I would do is just do a quick rundown of what the clerkship program is all about, talk to you about a little bit of all the dates and things like that, and then maybe give you a few tips on preparing your application as well. So I'll just get stuck into it. If you've got any questions, please just put them into the chat. Into the chat box, and we'll endeavour to answer anything that comes up. So the program is aimed at penultimate law year law students, and it's designed to give students their first taste of working life in an international law firm. And it involves gaining experience in one or more of our core sector practices. And at Clydenko, that includes transport, infrastructure, energy, trade and commodities, and insurance. So the Summer Clerk program is really our primary method for graduate recruitment as well. And many of our summer clerks go on to actually start their legal career with us, like, for example, Tom and Alexia. So we've got applications are open now, and they close on the 24th of September. And we are looking at first round interviews between the 5th and the 14th of October, and then second round interviews, which take place with a senior lawyer and a partner, around about the 18th to the 29th of October, and then offers made on the 5th of November for a start around about the 22nd of November, and then there's 4 weeks up until Christmas, then a couple of weeks off over Christmas, and then another 4 weeks after Christmas in January, leading up to the beginning of February 2022. So this year we're thinking about taking between 12 and 14 summer clerks across all the Australian offices. So we've got Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, and Brisbane. And this year we are implementing 2 4-week rotations. Last year we just had 1 rotation that was largely driven by COVID and all sorts of other factors. But this year we feel that it's much more beneficial to run a 2 4-week program, so you get a really good snapshot of different sorts of styles and practices and all of that sort of stuff. So the clerkship is focused on giving you practical experience. So it's really hands-on. You are actually exposed to real live matters, and you'll be working alongside our partners and lawyers on pretty cool stuff. You'll get to attend client meetings. You'll be able to work on business development skills. You'll be paired with a buddy and a mentor who help you settle in and provide guidance and support throughout the entire process, throughout both rotations that you actually have in the 8-week program. And you'll also get access to training and information sessions, which will really help expand your knowledge and skills. And also, COVID depending, there will hopefully be a variety of social events to attend throughout the program. So you can network with other clerks and also with colleagues, lawyers, partners, other people from within the firm itself. So Clyde Co, a little bit about Clyde Co. We're a leading global law firm. It's a UK headquartered firm. We have around 50 offices globally now, I think it is. There's over 440 partners, 1,800 lawyers, and in total 2,500 professionals and 4,000 staff in total globally. I've already touched on the fact that we specialise on 5 particular sectors: transport, infrastructure, energy, trade, and commodities and insurance. And we've got quite a strong focus on emerging markets. And we're one of the largest growing law firms in the world, with ambitious plans for future growth, particularly in the APAC region. The firm in Australia started in 2012, I think it was, and it's now grown to nearly 500 people in total across all of our offices. So as I mentioned, the applications are open now, and they'll close on the 24th of September. And obviously you need to apply via the portals and provide all the detail around your academic transcripts and all of these sorts of things. And I'll mention that just in a few minutes, just about some tips to provide, for actually preparing that application. And again, it's aimed at people in their penultimate year of law study. So a few tips in terms of preparing your application and for the interview process. Make sure you don't leave it to the last minute. Try to get your application in as soon as you can, and definitely before the 24th of September. And obviously do your research. One thing that we'll be really looking for when reviewing these applications is your not. It's obvious that you've actually looked at the firm, the areas of law that we do, the client bases, the news, and any sort of initiatives like diversity and inclusion. And make sure your application is really well-rounded. Include, your work experience, both legal and non-legal. Obviously, your education and academic results are important, but also the extracurricular activities, your volunteering experience, your involvement at university, things where you can really show team leadership and teamwork, and international exposure, things like exchange programs abroad and all that sort of stuff. Make sure it's a well-rounded application, because that's what we're looking for in terms of applicants. Be quite specific when writing answers to the questions. Consider and also incorporate this into your cover letter. Consider how you can really highlight your strengths and how they align to the key requirements of the actual clerkship program, as detailed in the actual job ads. and make sure you're showcasing you and your personality when you're actually answering some of these questions. And obviously have really good attention to detail. Look at things like spell checking and making sure, maybe put your answers into a Word document first and then incorporate it into the actual application. So the sorts of people that we are looking for that will be going through the process in terms of deciding who to take through to interview, people that shine through as, you know, personable, practical, commercially savvy, as well as flexible. So, you know, because the teams take very complex and undertake very complex and innovative sort of work, it's important that you're motivated and not afraid of a challenge. And you need to be able to balance your personal and professional lives. So we're really keen on people who have a broad sort of interest base outside of just work. And that is pretty much all the notes I had in relation to developing your application. I wanted to open it up now to the floor and start to go through some of these questions if you'd like.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you for that, Greg. I appreciate sharing. I've got a quick question here, and it was just in regards to the summer clerks. Is that the 12 to 14 summer clerks? Was that for the, just a quick question, for the Sydney office only, or was that across?
No, across the country. So we're actually canvassing all the partners at the moment in terms of exactly how many clerks per office, but we're recruiting for all of the offices across Australia.
Perfect. Awesome.
So we'll be able to accommodate a certain number in each office. Most of them in Sydney because it's a bigger office.
Awesome. Thanks for clarifying. I've got a question here from, I believe it was Vincent. So Vincent Barry, if you'd like to come on, just take yourself off mute and yeah, feel free to ask.
Thanks, Philip. And hi, everyone. My question's to the grads, and I guess this is caveated by the extent that you can discuss this, but could you tell us all about a piece of work that you found particularly interesting or you particularly enjoyed and why?
So Alexia, Tom?
To take that on. Alexia, you can go first.
Okay, I'll go first. Something sort of recent that I worked on. I'm just trying to think about the right way to word it. It was a task that involved a lot of different entities and a lot of different people. And it was sort of like you see in the crime shows when you see the boards and you've got to piece together who is working where, how people are connected. So it was sort of like a big mind map. And that was really fun for us to work together. We had a little team, like a micro team, and sort of digging through all the evidence and that sort of stuff. Putting that together was a lot of fun. I also find doing evidence matrices really interesting, and it's a good way to get your head around the matter as well. But yeah, that's probably a good recent example for me.
Awesome. Thanks, Alexia. How about yourself, Thomas?
Starting with something in my clerkship, I think one of the more memorable things that came out of my clerkship, I was working on a matter in the construction team, which I'm now in, and we were given, I was given a research task at the start. Can you please find us an answer for this? I went on and found the answer, and they said, how about you have a draft at the submissions that we're going to put forward? So I had a crack, gave it a draft, and eventually that draft became part of the submissions, and I got to sit in on the review of those submissions. They were quite lengthy, and it was quite cool to see that little bit of work that I did as a clerk, I got put into actual legal work.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Thomas. This actually, I really like this question. I believe it was from, I think it was James, but it was to Greg. How do you think the firm will grow in the next 5 years, particularly in Australia and Asia Pacific regions? Yeah, actually, yeah, James. Actually, do you want to jump on? So I'll just ask that question for you. But if you want to jump on and even just add if there's anything in specific that you'd like to know as well.
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is James. I just want to ask, hi, in particularly in Asia and Australia, because the recent years there's some challenges in regarding to the four core practice areas of Clydenko, like insurance, transportation, trading, commerce, and energy. In particular, there's like COVID-19 where transportation is limited, and commodity in Australia export is really limited as well because of China. And how do you think, in regards to these four core practice areas, what do you think is the main challenge that is ahead of Clydenko in the next 5 years, or what is the sort of like path to grow for the firm in particular in the Asian Pacific region?
Yeah, no, it is a really, really good question, isn't it? One of the main strategies that we, especially in Australia, have been developing is areas that develop particularly out of our insurance practices. So you might know that there is a partner called John Moran who leads our cyber practice. So John is an insurance lawyer, joined the firm a couple of years ago, and saw a real opportunity to act for insurers in relation to cyber response. There's a lot of privacy and data issues and things that come out of that. So that was a practice which is actually quite evolving in Australia as well. So not many firms do cyber or have dedicated practices like John Moran's. So that's an example of, it's kind of like pivoting, isn't it? So there's when you've got such a strong insurance base, you need to think about ways that you can leverage those sorts of relationships. And John Moran's a really, really good example of that. In fact, we're looking for so many different types of lawyers to join his team at the moment. So we're looking for a tech litigation senior associate. And we've never had a tech litigation kind of function within that group before. It's all just been very responsive, to incidents that occur. And we're looking for a cyber consultant who can come and also, sort of get things before they escalate. So doing audits basically of companies, so they can try to put in place plans to avoid these sorts of things. So there's that sort of thinking. Another example of that is construction and projects in Australia. So we don't actually act for insurers, but we have a construction practice that sort of stands alone. It's got its own clients, so that's sort of developing. And there's also a lot of sharing of resources between that team and other insurance teams. In Asia, Hong Kong is just had its 30th birthday a couple of months ago. So we've just hired a partner over there called Rachel Sheck, who is a much more of a commercial litigation lawyer as opposed to a pure insurance litigation focused partner. And the hope with that is that we can expand that sort of general commercial litigation experience through her. Even though she comes from an insurance background, she doesn't really do a lot of that insurance type work. So we're constantly looking at those sorts of opportunities to sort of pivot away from those core sectors. I mean, core sectors, like shipping and trade. Our Singapore practice has grown quite significantly over the last couple of years, and we're looking at recruiting actually at the moment for that team. And there's also a really successful practice that was built from the Asia practice in Australia. Aviation is one of those areas which is quite niche, and it's part of a global practice group. So there's some practitioners based in Hong Kong doing that, but they've got sort of like an Asia remit. So I mean, the firm wants to grow. We've had a lot of growth, especially over the last couple of years. but we know the challenges around those sectors, so we're trying to find areas where we can kind of build upon them, if that makes sense. Does that answer the question? All right, long-winded way of, yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Greg. Cheers. I've got another one here, just to the grads again. What practice areas or sectors have you worked in, and also which areas did you find that you enjoyed the most as well?
Tom, you can go first this time if you like.
Sure, Alexia. So in my clerkship, I rotated through insurance as well as construction. I enjoyed both. The work that you get in both was actually really interesting. The partners that I had were very nice to me, and the team in general were very supportive. So that kind of obviously makes your experience in the team really fun, but also the work that we get was quite interesting too. So I already mentioned that I worked in that construction in the pleadings that we're putting forward. That was fun, and it was good to see it was actually used. I'm now in construction, so I guess that's a bit of a sign that I really enjoyed it. But yeah, I think that's it for me on that.
And for me, I rotated through the work health and safety team, and I also went through contentious insurance. In work health and safety, I really enjoyed that because I have always had an interest in criminal law as well. And working in that team, you're actually working in the criminal jurisdiction, but in a corporate setting. So that was a lot of fun for me. Mentorship was brilliant. Working with the partners, I got a lot of close sort of matters with them as well, and we were able to work together. And often it's hard to be able to work with a partner, so I found that really beneficial as well. And I also did a bit of business development work, a few articles here and there on high-profile matters at the time, so that was really interesting. And insurance was very different in terms of the area, but very similar in terms of the mentorship. Had a great buddy and just really learned a lot. And then I ended up settling in WHS for my first graduate rotation, and now in my second rotation in the corporate team, which I'm absolutely loving as well. So all around, just, yeah, really good work.
I think it's probably worth noting that after my first, I guess the first part of my rotation this year as a grad, you can opt to choosing your team if you really enjoy it. So that's what I've decided to do. I'm the only grad in my team, but that also means you get a lot of interesting work coming your way. And as Alexia's touched on, there's a lot of mentorship opportunities at Clyde's, and I think both teams that I mentioned, insurance, which was personal injury for me, and construction, who offered me a lot of mentorship opportunities as well.
Awesome. What would you say would be advice you'd give to students wanting to either find a mentor or receive? Because I've had mentors in the past, and obviously there's different ways to get the most out of your mentor. So what recommendations when students do find that mentor and they're sort of given that mentor, how do you get the most out of that mentor that you have?
I personally found always asking questions. And just whenever you're working on a task, if they have time, it is often worth just asking them to maybe check it with you or talk to you about it, even just a quick phone call, and they would sort of offer any advice or tips, especially if they know what the matters involve or who it's going to. You'll find a lot of different people have different styles. So it's often good to ask someone how someone likes something written or how they like just things formatted, or just general sort of advice. It's just really important to always check in and ask questions. And, you know, if they're busy, it's a good thing you flagged it and they'll come back to you when they have time. But yeah, definitely emphasize that.
And that's another good thing about doing 2 rotations this year as well, so that you can get access to a whole range of different styles and ways of working.
Definitely.
Awesome.
I think the only thing to add on that would be there are mentors that naturally happen to you as a mentee, I guess. So you could be working on several different matters within your team, and naturally you'll just establish that relationship with someone. Alternatively, you can go out at Clyde's. Clyde's actually on a firm-wide basis offers a mentoring program, a global mentoring program, where we can actually link up with someone in the firm in a different country. I currently have a mentor in Dubai. Favorable time zone there for me, but I can speak to him about anything I have, any questions I have that you may just want to ask someone that may not be in the same office as you, someone who can just be a little bit more upfront with his answers because he's not working with you on a day-to-day basis. So that opportunity there for me is quite good. He's in the same practice area that I'm in, so it also helps to have that kind of background knowledge. You can speak about matters as well. So there's several opportunities there at Clyde's.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate that. I've got Luna who would like to ask a question as well. Luna, if you'd like to come off mute. If you're here, there you are. Oh, sorry, hold on. Sorry, your audio isn't working. Oh, sorry. Take it. I love it. Wouldn't be a Zoom meeting without some technical difficulties.
No, of course.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yep, sure can.
Sorry, my computer's gone crazy today. I know that Greg has already mentioned this, and thank you for mentioning things to add in the clerkship applications like uni marks, extracurriculars, work-life balance, and traits of motivation and being technically savvy. Those are all really good things. And I just wanted to ask, I know clerkships are becoming very increasingly popular. There are so many law students that are after these very limited spaces. I guess, is there anything else that we can maybe mention in our clerkship application that can show that we are a good fit for the firm, and not just that we have all these traits, but a majority of people all have these really successful traits that you're after?
Yeah, I know. It can be a bit cookie cutter, can't it? But I think the number one thing for me, and Viv and Simone might have additional comments on this, is to make sure you do the research, tailor it to us. That's one of the main things that we'll be looking for when we're reading through the cover letters. Just to show that you've done a little bit of reading and there's a reason as to why you're attracted to Clydenko. And in addition to all of those other things, I think that's the number one thing to maybe bear in mind when you're doing the cover letter. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Great. Thank you. Thanks for that. Yeah. No, there's there's no magic sort of solution to that. I know the frustration around that because there are so many things to choose from. Yeah. And I think I also went to a couple of uni workshops where they say, these firms, they only look at your application within 20 seconds because they have so many look at. And I feel like it's so hard to spend so much of your effort into creating the perfect application. But then obviously there are other applicants that might have similar or very, very high qualifications as well. It's just quite difficult in this. Yeah, especially with COVID as well. Oh, exactly. Pull it all together in a really concise way, focused on Clydenko. Because I've been a recruiter for years, and you do get into a habit of looking at certain parts of CVs, and it's really, really good to have a proper summary of what it is that you've achieved. And another thing is, don't undersell yourself either. There's so many things that people do that they often don't even realize that they're actually really impressive. And a lot of those things are related to outside of studies, because as a law student, being smart is it goes with the territory. But it's about all that other stuff as well, and in terms of the sort of personality that you have as well, whether or not it's it's going to fit into the firm as a whole. So I guess it's also very tough to really tell before an interview stage as well. I know. But it's I mean that would be my advice. is to just try to tailor it to the
best
to the
that
firm.
you can.
And just show as much of you as possible.
Yeah. Okay.
I know
great.
that's hard. I know it's really hard.
No, it's a good answer. Thank you. Thanks for that.
Awesome. I've got someone here, I think it's Lucy Masters. I've got quite a few of these questions in terms of sort of gender equality and inclusion. So Lucy, if you'd like to come off mute, might direct this one for you, Greg.
Yes. Hi, I hope everyone's doing well. I just wanted to ask a bit more about your focus on gender equality and inclusion. So I did read that you've partnered with the 30% Club, but I wanted to know a bit more about sort of your specific targets and how you're moving towards a more equal landscape.
Yeah, we've just also hired a learning and development, inclusion and diversity. What am I talking about? Manager, Christy McGregor. So she comes from, she's got a great background with law firms and all of that sort of thing. So she is very heavily involved in creating or implementing both the global plans around it, including that 30% Club, and also all of the initiatives that we're undertaking in Australia. And she's got several projects that are underway. In terms of, she'd be better placed to talk about exactly what that is. But I have, in relation to recruitment, diversity and inclusion is super important, to the firm and to me personally. I did some reporting the other day for Karen Begg, who's our global sort of head of recruitment in relation to the breakdown of men and women. Over the last 2 financial years. In terms of lawyers, over the last and our financial years from the 1st of May through to the 30th of June, April, sorry, and there were more women lawyers joining in the firm than men. So there's a lot of female talent in the mid and sort of senior levels, all below partnership. The partnership is something that we're continuously looking at, and that's part of Christy's remit as well. I think there are 26 males and 12 females in terms of the partnership, but there's a lot of special counsel and legal directors. We've got a whole program around bringing more people up, because we want to see a lot more female partners. But it's encouraging because there's so many more females coming through the ranks, and more of the legal directors and special counsel at the moment are female, and they're next in line for partnership kind of thing. So there's more of them sort of in the pipeline. And in terms of other initiatives, I mean, we've got Clyde Co, which is I think that's what it is, Viv, isn't it? Viv knows more about that committee than I do. And there's a whole bunch of other committees and subcommittees within the firm nationally.
Thank you.
That's all right.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. Good question as well. I think to go on from that, Maxwell had a really good question, which is very relevant to the time that we're in at the moment. So Maxwell, if you'd like to come off mute and ask your question.
Sure. Yep. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. I was just wondering how the clerkship program would run if we were to be under lockdown, whether it would go ahead online and how that would look.
Yeah, Tom, do you want to jump in? We were talking about this the other day because you've actually had that experience. And Alexia.
Well, I've spoken to a couple of people from last year's clerkship where they actually were on lockdown. It doesn't, I guess, stop you from the opportunities of mentorship and also any kind of close working with any of your seniors that you may get in person. Obviously, it would be much more preferable to be in person. But speaking from my own experience as a grad going through lockdown, all I can say is that you get longer phone calls with your seniors in terms of running through tasks, receiving feedback and improving on your work. In fact, today I only had a 30-minute conversation with one of my seniors where he gave me detailed feedback on how to improve everything. So I would say in terms of working, not much has changed other than not being able to see everyone every day.
I would agree with everything that Tom just said. And I think also for myself, starting my second rotation this year was actually during lockdown. And I'd only met my partner before. I hadn't met any of the team, nothing like that. But I've actually found it, in some ways, it can be better, because when you give someone a task, for example, sometimes it's actually quite hard to jot down all the feedback and next steps. It's hard to sometimes capture all of that. But being virtual, often it involves a lot of screen sharing. You can see their screen, and then you can see the notes that they're making. So it's a lot easier for you to actually work out, oh, okay, that's where I need to put this, or, you know, this needs to be altered, for example. And sort of like what Tom said, you get more time, I feel like, virtually to actually talk to your seniors, and just getting more quality time mentorship. And I think that's really been emphasized during lockdown, especially knowing that we're all virtual. So yeah, I don't think it'll really hinder the experience at all, apart from maybe the social activities. But a lot of teams still do Friday night Zoom drinks, so
yeah,
it's still very good.
Yeah, we're hoping and praying that we can do something pre-Christmas.
Yeah, hopefully.
Great question. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Max? I saw you pop off mute for a second there.
Oh, no, it's all good. That's all really good to hear. Thanks, guys. Yeah.
Awesome. And look, go on. We might add that we've also got the the tech in place. You know, we've got the laptops and everything's very connected, and so you'd be well set up.
Awesome. Good to hear. Thank you.
Got a question here by Tanya. If you're able to come off mute, that'd be awesome. If I'm happy
Sure, thanks. Hi guys, I'm Tanya. So I just wanted to know, what was the most interesting thing about working in an insurance and shipping firm in terms of like the law that's involved? Because not many firms have such a heavy focus on shipping and marine and aviation. And I know Clyde started off with focusing on these areas of laws. That's why, it's such a big focus, like even now. But I want to know what makes this area so interesting and sets it apart from the other commercial areas in corporate firms.
I think I might be in a suitable position to answer that, having worked in the insurance team and doing some work for marine. Without giving too much away, not that I can, for marine, the really great thing is you get to work on, I'll put it in this way, you get to work on some kind of career moving matters. And for insurance, what's really good about insurance is that we're big on insurance. So we have various areas of insurance. I worked in PI for a little bit. That meant that I got to deal with some really interesting personal claims of individuals. And the facts in those matters, that was in my clerkship on my first rotation. So I got to deal with the preparation of mediation. I got to prepare briefs, got to take an active role in preparing some documents that were to be used in those mediations. So there is quite a lot of variety in terms of our insurance practice. And I guess the big takeaway is, if you kind of like one area of insurance, but you're not completely set on it, there's always different variations of insurance you can go into and explore in your rotations.
I would agree with everything that Tom said there. Personally, I haven't had experience in the marine team, but I would love to. It sounds like a really great area. But yeah, with insurance, there's so many different areas. For example, something that I'm going to be involved in is a lot in relation to directors and officers. It's just another niche area. So yeah, it's very broad.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So a question which I've gotten a couple of times as well is just in terms of, this might be a question for Greg, is sponsorship. So first off, is Clydenko open to sponsorship later down the track? And also a focus question around, can anybody from Pakistan particularly be a part of this program as well?
Visa sponsorship. Look, it's probably more focused on people who don't need to be sponsored, in terms of relocating from another country. So you really do need to have Australia working rights to be part of this particular program. In terms of more generally speaking, like Clyde Co in Australia is open to sponsoring lawyers, but it tends to be lawyers who have more experience, established lawyers from other jurisdictions.
Awesome. Thanks for clarifying.
So for this, you do need the Australia working rights.
Yeah. Awesome. I've got a question from Jet for Greg, so don't go anywhere, Greg. But Jet, if you'd like to come on.
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yes, go for it.
Sorry, my background's a bit poor.
In the Matrix.
Yeah. I just want to have. I actually have a couple of questions, but I'll focus on this one. In terms, just a bit more in terms of the type of traits that you're looking for in applicants. I understand, you went through how you wanted applicants to not just be good at studies. They should also have some sort of practical experience. So just elaborating on that a little bit more. What if I'm someone that, although I have like experience in, say, a lot of mooting competitions, but then I haven't actually been, have experience in a law firm working as a clerk or receptionist.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic. That sort of thing shows that you're not. It's not just 100% focus on studies at university. So, those sorts of things are great. They sort of add to the overall sort of package. But I mean, in terms of traits, I think sense of humor. Just nice people. People that we feel would work well with our teams. And most, like there's a pretty sort of fun-loving kind of vibe within the firm. So people that can sort of think practically and be adaptable to different sorts of situations, and with a sense of humor, I think is important too. But no, definitely those sorts of things, in the context of university. The actual practical, I've worked in a law firm, that's neither here nor there in terms of that, rounded package.
Yeah. So sorry, I think I didn't frame my question well enough. So what I meant is I haven't worked in a law firm. So I don't actually.
Fine. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And that's not gonna.
Sorry. Yeah.
And that won't impact my application in any way?
No.
Okay.
No.
And going back to like the whole, public advocacy thing, I understand that also you guys said that you'll be looking to exploring emerging markets within the APAC region. So I'm kind of thinking, do you perhaps mean that there may be more international litigation opportunities within Clydenko?
You mean in terms of once you start as a grad and become a lawyer with us, movement within the network?
Like further down in a career, or even like perhaps like I guess like a bit of an insight during the clerkship also, in terms of that area.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's the actual clerkship. This 8-week program is focused on just on Australia. So I wouldn't imagine you'd get a lot of sort of exposure. But that said, like it also depends on the practices and the partners, because a lot of lawyers work across borders. So you might find yourself talking to people in Hong Kong or Singapore or China or the UK or somewhere in Europe or the US. But it kind of just depends on the matters that you're working on. But in terms of, but I mean, so maybe there's a question about the clerkship, but the opportunities down the track are definitely there. It also, we're a global firm and we've got 50 offices. So, there have been several instances of people moving within the network. There obviously needs to be like a need in that other office, and you need to obviously have the relevant skills to be able to sort of, do that job in that other office. But it can be facilitated for sure down the track.
Okay, thanks so much. Thank you.
No worries.
Just jumping back to your original question, I think, and this might be good for everyone to hear, is when you're writing your application and highlighting your experience, it's really important just to focus on your strengths. Like, say you've worked at Woolworths for 5 years and that's the only kind of work experience you've ever had. You can highlight the transferable skills that working in like a customer service role can kind of, strengthen, or you can bring over to like your career in law. Like, as it is a clerkship, we're not expecting people to, have years and years of experience in a law firm. So yeah, that would probably just be another tip to any work experience is, has benefits. So highlight that and play to your strengths.
Yeah, because it's if you having a job, there's structure, you've got responsibilities, and there's all sorts of things that come up, and you need to deal with them, and think about situations that you've had to deal with that have been difficult. That's kind of a transferable skill, like in terms of moving into a professional services firm. So think about those sorts of challenges and things that you've had throughout any sort of job, whatever it might be. That sort of set you up for dealing, for like a law firm sort of situation.
Okay, thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Chip. Another question here from Grace. If Grace wants to jump on.
I actually think you just answered mine. Mine was about movement between transnational work and movement between offices. So
beautiful. Hassan, if you're on. So Hassan's asked, how do recruiters see a transcript in which most grades for individual subjects are high, except for 1 or 2 units that individual has done less than ideal?
Yeah, I mean, academic transcripts aren't everything. They really aren't. There's I will look at a transcript and I'll try to see trends within the transcript. So say, for example, someone has done amazingly well in the first year, and then the second year is the grades are not as good, and then the third year onwards, like it just improves again. Like, you sort of think, well, something must have happened there for that to happen, some sort of personal situation or whatever it might be. It's not everything that we look at. And it doesn't all need to be HDs and Ds all the time. And we do genuinely look at all these other factors, especially at the very, very junior levels. In relation to what the circumstances are, what other things people are doing, other than just focusing on academics. Sure. So they're important, but they're not everything.
Just on the back of that question as well, is there a minimum GPA requirement for clerkships and even market graduates?
No, we haven't. Well, we haven't set one yet. To answer that question, like if we need to, if we get so many applications that we need to filter based on that, then we might do that. But no, not yet.
Okay, perfect. So I saw you come off mute, Simone. Was there anything you wanted to add?
Oh no, I was just going to say about the minimum GPA. If, let's say, you might not have the highest GPA, but the rest of your application kind of, ticks all those boxes, we're not going to discount someone just because they might have a bit of a lower GPA, because 9 times out of 10, that, as Greg said, there's going to be factors contributing to that. You might be, I don't know, an elite sports person training however many times a week, or there's always, you know, a story behind the grades, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah, perfect. This question's for everyone, but I think it's going to be mainly focused at the graduates, Alexia and Tom, I believe. I may have just got that name wrong. No, I got it right.
No, that's right.
Go me. Sorry, mate. Disappeared. So the question is what was the biggest mistake that you made whilst at Clyde Co, and how did you and the firm deal with it?
Oh, that's a hard one. I'm just trying to think. I guess just generally, if you make a mistake on a task, for example, usually you're just given feedback on how to improve. And, you know, at first that might feel quite daunting, especially coming in as a summer clerk. You know, you're trying to do your best, you don't want to make any errors, and you start to think, oh gosh, like I need to perform well now in order to secure a grad spot. You know, I guess there's some anxiety around that naturally. But at the end of the day, where you're doing the clerkship to get better, to your skills are there to improve, and the people that are around you are there to help you do that. So I had those experiences in my clerkship where maybe I didn't quite nail a task, and I was just told by my senior or whoever I was working for, hey, this is really great, but maybe next time just add this in. It's really not the be all and end all. So don't be too stressed if that does happen to you, because there's, you know, it's all a learning experience.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, Alexia. You will make mistakes. That's completely normal. It's a part of the learning curve. And I think in a way to deal with that and mistakes in general, someone taught me something in my clerkship. I can't remember who it was, really unfortunate, but someone said, if you make a mistake, you need to first figure out what's the gravity of the mistake. What steps can you take to come to your senior, whoever's given you the task, to say, I made a mistake, but here's what we can do, 1 and 2, and give them some options. That is something I haven't had to use, unfortunately, yet. I haven't made any too big of a mistake to warrant any 2 steps. Of course, there is the occasional slip up, but you would hope that those slip ups aren't big ones. But I would say it's very easy to make a mistake when you're not focused on the task. So it's good to stay focused and keep an idea of what the end product should be.
Yeah, and making mistakes is a lifelong kind of state of play, really. Everyone makes mistakes, but that's fantastic advice, Tom.
Love it. As long as you learn from it, and if you can learn from other mentors as well, hopefully save some time. I think Lucy has a question as well.
Yes, hello, me again. I was just wondering about kind of final year law students. So I have spent the last sort of 3 years of my degree working in retail management, which I do believe I've, you know, gained some transferable skills. But I was wondering if, because of that, I am now ready to pivot into hopefully a long, successful career in law. So I was wondering if you are open to sort of onboarding people who are in their final year.
Yes. Yes. Short answer.
Easy answer. I like it. Simple.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. Awesome. So what else do we have here? This one's for everyone. What gets you most excited about the company's future? I'll open up this one to the floor.
For me, it is the different types of, well, from a recruitment perspective, the the different types of people that we have. Like we've got so many different types of personalities and ways of working. But everyone does come together as one unit. So it's a very collaborative type of environment. And from that sort of very strong base, and it's a very strong financial base as well. And I saw a question came up about how we did through COVID, and we traded well, didn't make redundancies, and we're stronger than ever. And there's a lot of growth still in our markets. and there's still a lot of growth to come in Australia. So I think people working together, I think, is something that's pretty exciting, and will achieve great things with it.
Yeah, just following on from Greg, I'm fairly new to Clydenko, and I guess one of the things that attracted me to the firm was about the growth of that it had the potential to do. So I guess we're still fairly young in Australia. As Greg said, only opened in 2012, and I feel like the firm's just so ambitious, and there's just so much room for growth, and yeah, doing that with a great team around is, yeah, I guess super exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah, and like I said before, like the clerkship program is an incubator, as it were, for law grads. This is the way that we see the future, investing and developing our junior lawyers.
Beautiful. How about yourself, Alexia and Tom?
Yeah, I think next 5 years is a hard one. We're only grads, so we've only just started. So at this point, my mindset is more turned towards the next 2 years, and that would be becoming a grad. Going from a grad to become an associate, and then kind of finding my feet in the world of being an associate. I think that I'm looking forward to that because, as I've mentioned, there's plenty of people within the firm that are willing to put aside some quality time to make sure you're nurtured and ready for that step, and also the development you'll then have after that step. So when you're an associate, you've already been ready for your tasks as an associate, but then you're able to build on that and build that experience up. And I have no doubt that all the work that will be coming my way in the next 2 years will be able to challenge me and push me forward towards those, I guess, early term career goals.
Yeah, I agree with Tom. I think it's exciting to be focusing on our professional development. And, once you go through the process of being a summer clerk, then to grad, to associate, by the time you get to associate, you really start to build a profile, and you start to really think about the area of law that you want to specialize in or settle in. And, coming all of that way along with your mentors, that it really helps you sort of understand where you're going and what you want to do. And especially in terms of post-pandemic, there's going to be so many new and different exciting matters that Clyde Co as a firm will be involved in. So I think it'll be really interesting to see in the next few years what types of matters come out of the pandemic.
Love it. Great answers, everyone. Conscious of time, but I've got one last question here from Jet, which I think is a great question. But what's the one thing about Clyde Co that you think really makes the firm different from other law firms that makes it unique? So might get everyone to grab an answer, then we might finish it up after that.
Yeah, so I've been a recruiter for years, both from agency and within law firms. I think the number one thing that makes it different is the collaborative partnership. It's quite a flat structure, which means that things can get done. Other firms can be suffocated by politics. I think Clyde Co is relatively politic free, and I think that really helps move the firm forward. As one.
Awesome. Who wants to go next?
I'm glad to take that. I know everyone will, I've been in your shoes. I know that the word that I'm about to say is going to cause some eye rolls, but let me justify it with my own experience before I actually, I'll say it first and then I'll give my experience, sorry. So culture and why culture. So from my own experience in what I've seen, I've worked at a couple of firms now, 3 different ones, and Clyde's is good in terms of culture and makes it unique in terms of culture because it really looks after its staff. And I mean that in a holistic sense, not just from the personal side of things, but also to the professional side of things. I think a career at Clyde's is going to offer you plenty of opportunity for personal and professional growth, networks throughout the firm, but also external to the firm in all the different extracurricular, I guess, if you want to call it that, programs that we have, such as the social events with other firms, such as social events and outreach programs, such as the social committees, the Pride Co committee. There are many different opportunities to get involved. And I think that when you go into the office on a day that you may not know and walk in and see Chinese New Year decorations up inside your level, and then see a spread put out, you really realize that this firm really appreciates every single member of its staff, and really want to make sure that every single person at Clyde's can fit in well.
Tom, you stole my word. That was going to be mine as well. I think, yeah, honestly, everything that Tom just said is 100% accurate. As when we were summer clerks, we were just blown away by the experience, the people, socially and professionally. You know, it's great because someone that is a mentor at work may also turn into someone that you end up going to social events with, or even just client networking events. And you feel so comfortable going, especially when it's a client networking event for the first time, you feel so comfortable going with that person that has been nurturing you the whole way through, and transferring that from a professional, well, mainly professional setting into another professional but more casual kind of setting, I guess. So yeah, the culture is just completely different. And I think for people that have maybe previously worked at certain firms or had experiences elsewhere, I think once you start working for Clyde Co, you'll think, this is pretty cool stuff. So yeah, it's great. I couldn't say much more on that because I'm just going to say exactly what Tom just said.
It's a young thinking firm as well in terms of its, yeah.
Perfect. Well, thanks everyone. I might get Simone. Want to jump on quickly?
Yeah, kind of similar to what everyone said, but I guess the point of difference from my experience is like the firm's ability to take action and do that in a timely fashion. I feel, you know, I'm sure everyone knows that the industry is incredibly busy and people can get tied down with just, you know, doing their day-to-day jobs that need to get done. But yeah, I think Clyde Co does a really good job at taking action on things that they say they will, and yeah, doing that, you know, kind of making that a priority as such. So yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Simone. Well, thanks everyone that attended. Thanks again for the Clyde Co team for jumping on and answering all the questions. Appreciate everyone sharing. Greg, Alexia, Tom, Viv, Simone. Obviously couldn't do it without you, so appreciate your time, and thanks for everyone that joined in. Just a reminder, look, applications are currently open for Clyde Co. So there's obviously the 2021 summer clerkship that's going to start at the end of the year. So look, get in now if you can. Applications are closing on, I believe it's the 24th of September. Maybe correct me if I'm
wrong. That's right.
Yep. Perfect.
24th.
Beautiful. So yeah, get those applications in when you have a chance. And look, thanks everyone again for joining, and hope everyone has a wonderful week. See you all soon.